everyone, it's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast, and this is your weekly card pull for the week of May 31st. May 31st, I know it comes every year, but this year it feels a little bit like the teacher saying you can have 20 extra minutes of recess, or you can have 15 more minutes on the exam that you thought was finished. There's something about like school still in session, and you're given a little bit of a grace time to just breathe for a second, just catch your breath, just say actually what needs to be attended to. This question of resources was so important, and it's so interesting from the perspective of the Hierophant and the Death card, right? So the Hierophant and the Death card together are giving you this energy of what is sacred to you, what connects you to the divine. Are you recognizing how divine your own energetic source is, your own movements are, your own contribution is, your own essence is? Are you recognizing the divine as it lives in you, but then also how it's mirrored and dancing with the divine out in the world, out there? Like the great illusion that we are all disconnected, right? That we're kind of these individual units. The Hierophant is the way that we've in the past found a bridge to what is sacred. Something about the Death card, like on this kind of global level, is saying, have you realized yet that it's all you? Like, have you realized yet that it's been you the whole time? And the Death card was a falling away of things that made us feel separate from the divine, separate from source, separate from God or goddess, whatever language you use. And this question of resources came up in such an interesting way because the resources are sacred too. Like the resources are sacred too. The food you drink, the car you drive, the house you live in if you're so lucky to be homed, right? The water you drink, the extra money you have for beautiful things, the time you devote to and attend to the things that are already present and beautiful in your life. How much time and effort are you giving them? And are you kind of rushing through in this headlong rushing into more and next and what else, versus the sense of it's all right here. Like it's been you the whole time and it's all right here. And May 31st is this last kind of realization of how are you using your, as Mary Oliver would say, your one precious life. You do not have endless physicality, endless materiality, meaning that your body will falter one day, meaning that you get tired, meaning that you need to drink and hydrate and consume food and move your body and have touch and all of these very physical demands that your body makes. Your body is such a resource and also such a delicate creature. And the sense in this past month was you don't have limitless reserves. We live in an infinite universe, but you are a material being. You are a limitless, infinite being experiencing the finite, experiencing the material world. So recognize that and have a sense of devotion to the body, the container that you're in. That's where this 8 energy is all coming in. It's like the integration of the spiritual and the material, the elevating of the material as something that is sacred as well. My teacher Kendra used to always say, there is no unsacred thing. There is no unsacred thing. And there's something really important about that in this month. And I imagine it got clarified or shifted for you in terms of how you and what you attend to. And again, just to say it one last time before May's over, be grateful for your resources. Attend to them with a sense of devotion, with a sense of sacred witness. I am so lucky to be able to feed myself with fresh food. I am so lucky to have a body that can try and become stronger and move through the world and feel the wind on my skin. And I am so lucky to have a car that keeps me safe. We talk about this a lot when people start to talk about the idea of what is the divine masculine. One of the great examples is like the room you're in, the walls, the ceiling. That is its own containment, its own holding, its own unconditional love. Gravity is another example of that. But your car, dude, I don't know if you are as attached to your car as I am, but how many times have you sat in your car and just like breathed in the silence? Like breathed in the quiet of that container, of that holding. That is its own divine masculine. And John Wineland, Kendra Kunav, who used to study with, they used to say that, like, become aware of how the masculine is already holding you. Become aware of how the divine is already just adoring you and holding you and protecting you, and watch how that multiplies. That same energy is here with the sense of your resources. Like, attend to what you have with a sense of reverence, devotion, gratitude, and watch how it expands. Watch how your attention expands, how your attention creates. Okay, so that's your last little, like, extra 15 minutes on the exam for May, or extra 20 minutes of recess, whichever one feels better to you. And the nerd in me is like, I'll take 10 more minutes on the exam. But we're moving into June. Most of this week ahead is going to be June energy, and June is going to be the energy of the Lovers and Temperance. Those are two cards very interesting and interested in how you combine energies. How I meet you, how me fully formed, right? Illusion, but fully formed, meets you fully formed, and how do we bump up against each other? How does that feel both good and challenging? What do we learn from each other? What do we admire in each other? What do we bring into awareness by existing in each other's space? And then the Temperance card is the angel of alchemy. So it's the angel of mixing the things that have not been mixed before to create something new. It is the energy of transmutation. These two energies together, the Lovers always brings us a choice. And Temperance is asking us to take our time and to try to see clearly, and most importantly, to see a third way. So not to get stuck in polarity, not to get stuck in either or. I'm going to probably do I'm practicing this like video format, so maybe I'll do a longer June discovery around these two energies, because I am starting to miss the monthly cards. I'm starting to miss the monthly deep dive into the numerology and the tarot of those cards. So I'm trying to figure out a way to bring that back in a way that feels good. But Temperance is always going to be bringing up patience. It's also going to remind you how important integration is. My friend Maureen, who is a brilliant family constellations teacher and guide, when you finish an appointment with her or workshop with her, she always says, give it 2 weeks. Like, don't talk about it, don't fix it, don't process it, don't like journal on it. Just give it 2 weeks to settle. Let what needs to fall away, what needs to kind of be, blossom or emerge, but you don't need to fix this. Let the energy settle. I really, really believe that, and it's something I've taken on in terms of when I teach, because I really believe in this. We just are so in a hurry to get someplace, and there's nowhere to get to. We are in a moment of discovery over and over and over again, and there is no arrival. And as I've said before, that can be a painful lesson, but it can also be an incredibly liberating lesson. And the card of Temperance is always saying to you, patience. It's always saying you don't underestimate how important it is to integrate what you've learned and to let it settle, and to let this new version of you emerge, whatever that means, like whatever you're processing and working with. And then the importance of not, like the Lovers is going to say either or, make a decision, and Temperance is going to say, are you sure? Like, are you sure there's only black and white, there's only left or right? Like, might there be a third way? Okay, so I say all that to you because the card I pulled for us this week is the King of Cups. The King of Cups is an interesting card because the cups will bring us all the emotionality and the sentimentality and the depth and the discovery and the watery intelligence of the water element. And the King card will bring us the sense of our responsibility. That can come in so many ways. This is one of those cards where it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit uncomfortable to try to be in charge and also be in your full depth, also be in your watery, intuitive nature, to lead from that place. And that's one of the things that's coming up, right? Like, how do you lead from a place of depth, intuition, emotionality, emotional intelligence? And the other thing that comes up with the King of Cups in this week ahead is, I forgot my thought. What is it? Other thing that comes up in this King of Cups week is, so the King of Cups, because it's combining these two energies around leadership, around domain, around guidance, and the depths of your emotional body, when those two things come together, there can be brilliance, like there can be the brilliance of emotionally intelligent leadership, emotionally sensitive leadership, so feeling into what's happening, not just for myself, but for the wider group that I'm in charge of, quote unquote, and moving from a place of, is this propelling us all where we want to go? Is this satisfying for all of us? Is this, holding us all in a way that feels tender and loving? But the challenge with the King of Cups is that we can feel responsible for other people's feelings. We can feel like we have to submerge and make secondary our own emotions in service to the things we love, the people we love. And the healthy expression of that is, so me as a parent, right, looking around at my family. My children did something with the car this week. They got themselves in a bit of hot water, and I had to hold the line. I had to hold a boundary with them about the consequences of that. I didn't want to. I'm human and I love them and I like peace in my house. And so part of me wanted, the day later wanted to be like, oh, don't feel bad about it. Like, things happen and it's okay. And I wanted them to feel good. So I wanted to kind of give in. But then there's the part of me that knows better, and it's not really about whether they like me, and it's not really about whether they're comfortable all the time. Sometimes they will be uncomfortable. So much of learning is learning how to be uncomfortable and how to hold yourself through discomfort, right? And the larger lesson needed to be taught about something they had done that did have consequences. And so I had to hold steady, even though emotionally I could feel around me there was some, ripples on the water. Like, they wanted me to give in, I wanted to give in, and the part of me that prevailed was the part of me that said, like, here's the clear line, here are the consequences, and I'm going to hold that steady, even if we're all uncomfortable in the waters, right? That's the healthy expression of the King of Cups. The unhealthy expression of the King of Cups is a type of codependency where you're so uncomfortable with other people's discomfort, other people's emotionality, other people's kind of the chaos of other people's emotions, that you are trying to manage that, or you're trying to fix that, or you're trying to, plan for that, or be hyper vigilant around that. So the King of Cups is coming to us this week with both of those energies, with all of those energies, a sense of how do you balance the leadership, the places you have to take leadership, and how do you balance your sensitivity to the emotional world, your sensitivity to the emotional body in yourself and in your community or in your domain. That might be, you might be really proud of how you handle that, and you might also find that very challenging. And so the remedy or the medicine or the reminder is, I start with my own sensitivity. I find something to ground into. The problem the King of Cups has is that he doesn't have something to ground into. If you look at the traditional Rider-Waite card, he's kind of balanced on this little stone throne. It looks highly uncomfortable. And the question is, would he be more comfortable diving into the water and becoming a merman, or would he be more comfortable hitting land somewhere? There's not a right answer, but thinking about what you ground yourself into is very important in this week, because you have to know what's true for you before you can feel into what is true and what is necessary for the people that you love, for the people around you. And again, to bring this into the June. So May 31st, we have this kind of 15 minutes left of the exam, and then we launch into June, and June is going to be very different energy from the Hierophant and the Death card. This Lover's Temperance card is going to have just a very different cadence to it. And the sense is going to be, how do you stay grounded? Gemini energy doesn't really want you that grounded. Cancer energy is kind of pretty fluid. The Lovers is like very interested in the dynamic exchange and in the choices we're making and in the kind of the fluidity of life. And the Temperance card is also kind of mixing and matching things that might appear one way, but they have an essence within them that wants to get unlocked, which sounds kind of mysterious, but you might see that play out in June, and you might see that play out this week. So where do you ground? How do you stay in your own truth? How do you stay in your own integrity, even when it's uncomfortable? Even when it's uncomfortable. So ground yourself, ground yourself, ground yourself this week, and be willing to say what's true for you emotionally. Be willing to pause before you try to make it okay for someone else emotionally, especially someone that you're, beholden to or in service to. And then bring in the energy of temperance, where it's like, I don't have to know the answer for there to be an answer. So I can have the sense of there's this possibility, and then I can breathe and wait and see what other possibilities emerge. Don't forget the third way in June, period. You know, the Gemini energy, the Lover's energy, there's a lot of androgyny in there. There's the whole idea of the third gender. Like, there's so much here about, we live in such a binary, polarized world, and that is changing on so many levels, But we really want to get curious about what are the third ways. We want to get curious about what energy wants to move out into the world, even if we haven't seen it before, even if we can't imagine it before it arrives. So the King of Cups, the purest investigation or energy of the King of Cups is where I'm responsible for people emotionally, energetically, like from a depth, love, connection standpoint. And where am I getting confused about that? How do I negotiate and balance out this sense of leadership with this sense of sensitivity? And that's going to be, there's probably going to be moments where that's beautifully investigated and explored, and there's going to be moments where that might get a little bit confused. And so the permission, the invitation is always to pause and to take your time and to let things ripen in their own moment. But in this King of Cups week in particular, there's just a possibility of getting carried away emotionally, and there's an equal possibility of being overly rigid around what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And so there's a lot of subtlety asked of you and a lot of emotional intelligence asked of you in a King of Cups week. The last thing I'm going to say is really interesting. So when I flipped over the deck, the Queen of Cups was the underlying. So Queen of Cups she's fully in her emotional body. Like, she's staring at a closed cup. She's the only one. She's staring at the closed cup. She's like, I could just like explore my feelings all day. I could explore my feelings all day. I could write poetry all day. I could make art all day. I got nothing to do but be in my feelings. And the King of Cups is like, no, we have a country to run. We have a family to run. We have a business to run. We have a body to maintain. So the King of Cups is the one bringing her back to reality, grounding her in a sense of, yes, there's discovery, but there's also like dinner to be made. Does that make sense? And so it's interesting that what it says to me that the Queen of Cups is the underlying is that there's just a lot of beautiful emotion here, and you want to not get lost in it, but just really be thinking about the balancing of the things you have to attend to and the way you feel about the things you have to attend to and the way you feel about the people involved in the things you have to attend to. So it's like lots of layers at once. There's a lot required of you in the King of Cups. Yeah, the last thing that just wants to come through really clearly. I said it again, but I said it before, but I'll say it again. Rigidity. Rigidity is not your friend this week, which means there's just delicacy and flexibility required in your own emotional investigations, but also in your witnessing of other people and your handling of conflict or handling of challenges or handling of conversations even, or handling of art even. There's something about how rigidity is really a little bit of like a poison pill. I mean, it's never great, but sometimes it's required. Here, it's like really gonna trip people up. Like, this is the way it is. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and they tell you their version of the story and you're like, that's not true. That's just like your perspective on it. Don't you see that that's only one way to see it? Many people might have trouble seeing that. You might have trouble seeing that. So again, breath, curiosity, patience, flexibility, and awaiting for the third way, like awaiting the third way versus feeling like you have to decide when the two options, neither one feels right. Okay, I hope that feels good. I hope that's helpful. And just sending you so much love, sending you the ability to be fluid and creative and also stay grounded in the waters, which is its own investigation, its own challenge, its own discovery. All right, I will talk to you soon. Check you later. Bye.